Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Patty and I go by Patty Mac Knits Online, and today's video is going to be of a tutorial type style video, and we're going to talk about knitting needles, and in particular circular needles. And the reason that I'm filming this particular video is because I have been getting some questions, and I think there might be a little bit of confusion on or concerning how to read our needle packages and what all of the information on the package means. So we're going to take a look at that today. And if you have questions concerning how to best match your yarn weight to your needles, I have a video for that, and I'm going to link to it above and also in the description below. So take a look at that if you're trying to figure out how to match up your yarn. Today we're just going to look at knitting needles, and in particular circular knitting needle packages, and what the information means, and how we use them. Not how we use the needles, but how we use that information to decide how we're going to make our project. So, okay, let's get into it. Here I have like several different kinds of circular knitting needles, and these are all like my personal needles. Nothing in this video is sponsored. These are all mine. This is what I like to use. And so these are all circulars, and these are straight knitting needles, and these are called DPNs. DPN means double pointed needles because, as you can see, it has points on each end. And this is another method for knitting in the round. I don't do a lot with these. I mostly will do magic loop if I need to go down in size with a cable, but a lot of people love these, and I have used them. I use them in a lot of my tutorial videos because, as you can see, they're quite a bit shorter than the straight needles, and it makes it easier for me to film this overhead style video when I have a shorter needle. But okay, so that's a DPN. This is a straight needle, and just like it says, it's a straight knitting needle. So why would you want to use this instead of this? Well, there's a couple of reasons. One reason is that this is going to do flat knitting, and you can always take your flat knit and seam it up. That is a really good way to get started with like a hat project. If you're not clear on how to knit in the round, you can always knit flat and seam. Also, a lot of sweaters are flat, but you can see, I mean, this is not that long. I think this is a 10-inch needle, so unless you're knitting for a little tiny baby, pretty quickly this is not going to hold very many stitches. So that's when we start looking at using something with a cable, because what it does is the cable will give us more space to stretch out our stitches. Okay, so I'm going to take these away for right now. Let's just look at a cable needle. So this is what like a super basic round or a cable needle looks like for knitting in the round. You can also knit flat with these, but for today let's just talk about knitting in the round. Okay, so here's your cable, and this connects your two needles, and these sizes are the same as any other needle of the same. So this is a 15. So if I had, this is a 13. So if I had this as a 15, you could put them together, and this part and this part are exactly the same size, or they should be anyway. But the cable lets you bring it around, and then as you can see, you knit in the round. And so you're going to knit just like you always do on this part of the needles, and then your stitches just move around this cable. I'm going to show you the package this came in. So this needle is a skeisel and with Addy turbos, and this is what you really want to be looking at. So what this, let me bring it up so you can really see it. So what this is telling you, and in fact, let me slip this out of the package. You can really see it. Okay, bring it way up here. Okay, so what this is telling you is that you have a 16-inch US size 13 or a 40 centimeter 9mm needle. So this is telling us that the 16 inches refers to the length of the needle, and the US 13 or the 9mm is the size of the needle. And typically we're going to use this with a super bulky weight yarn, which is like this. Okay, so what you're probably going to make with a 16-inch needle like this is a hat. And that is because most people's heads are slightly bigger than 16 inches. Okay, so this is typically what you're going to use when you're knitting a hat project. And that's because, you know, the average size of a head for an adult is going to be, say, 18 inches to about 22 inches or so. And those stitches will, I mean, they'll crumple up somewhat on here, but you want them to be crumpled in more than stretched way out. Because if they're stretched way out, you can't get them around, if that makes sense. We're going to look at this more closely. For now, let's just keep looking at the packages. Okay, so that's what that looks like, and that's what that stuff means. Let's look at this. So these are basically the same needles. They're both US 15 or 10mm needles. They're both from the same company, Knitter's Pride. But what is different? The difference is here in the cable. So this one is, bring it up. This one is a 24-inch or 60mm, and this one is a 40-inch or 100 centimeters, which means this is a much longer cable. And why would you want a much longer cable? Well, you could do magic loop. If you're going to do magic loop knitting, you really want that long cable. It makes your life much easier. And I do have a video on how to do magic loop, which I'll link over to. So that's the thing. Also, maybe you want to do a blanket. So if you're trying to knit a blanket, you know, I mean, how many, unless you're doing a doll's blanket or something for a very small animal, you know, you could knit a gerbil blanket with this, but, you know, that's about all you're going to get on there. It's not that big. So, unless you want to knit modular pieces and then seam everything together, get something with a long cable. Because all of your stitches will rest on this part as you're knitting across. I hope this makes sense. Okay, so that's... This is like, I'll be honest with you guys, I am totally doing stream of consciousness right now. Okay, so that's the big difference is the length of the cable. So when you're working with the circular needles, you have two measurements. You have the needle size, which is down here, and the cable length, which is up here. And they always appear separately. Okay, let's just look at some of these. This is actually my favorite for magic loop. I like this red cable. It's my own personal preference. There are so many different kinds of needles, and everybody likes different things. It's just like salt and pepper. We all like different amounts of salt and pepper. So you find what works for you. I personally love these. So let's look at this one. This one is 40 inches or 100 centimeters, US size 1, 2.25 millimeters. So this is like, I actually bought this to do sock knitting because you generally will knit socks on a little tiny needle like that. And magic loop is a great way to do socks. So that's what that's for. Now we'll go to this one. This is a 5 or a 3.75 millimeter, and this one is a 32-inch cable. Pull it up here. Or 80 centimeters. So this cable is not quite as long as this cable, but the needles are bigger. And then this one is a size 7 or 4.5 millimeter with a 24-inch cable or 60 centimeters. So these are all 3 of the sizes that I have here. Oh, do I have one more? This one is actually a 40, and then this is a 40-inch on a size 15. So you can see that you can have these just be all over the place. So here we have the 40-inch, which is the long cable, with the size 1 needle, the smallest. Well, they're smaller, but in my case, the smallest. A 32-inch, which is a size 5. So that needle's a little bit bigger, but the cable's a little bit shorter. And then here is a 7 with a 24-inch. So this needle is a little bit bigger, but the cable is smaller. And then finally, here is a 40, size 15. And on these, as you can see, the package is literally falling apart. This is like my go-to needle for chunky hats. I love this. So I hope this makes sense. I had somebody that was talking with me on a knitting in the round video, and I feel like part of the confusion was not understanding how to read this part and what this means. So I hope this clears it up. Please let me know if this explains some things to you. If you have other questions, feel free to leave those in the comments below. This to me is the best explanation or description that I can share with you, which is the same exact needle with the different size cable. And essentially, you're going to pick your cable based on what project you're making. So this one you could do, like, say, a cowl, because it's a 24-inch size. And this one, say, a blanket, because it's really, really long, or a magic loop project. That's what I would say. I hope this helps. It's, yeah, so hopefully this is going to answer or clear up some questions you all might have regarding just cables and needle sizes. Just stick around, because I'm going to talk a little bit more about how we use them in a project to knit, and in particular how to set this up to knit a hat in the round, and just take a look at that. So I really appreciate you watching. It means a lot, and I hope that you will subscribe to the channel before you leave today, because I would like for you to be around to see the next explanation, which is really setting ourselves up to knit on this. I do have a how to knit in the round video, but I think that some people might need just a little more information. So that's what I'm going to film for you next, and it will be posted in the near future. So stick around. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I sure do appreciate it, and I will see you in the next video.